Hello. Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Woden. This is chapter 11. Woden then proceeded to hammer the sign pointing down the road, and he read, "Follow the lighted path to the hags' Pyre of the Termagan Woden, if you are in need of potions or remedy." And then she added a second sign that read, "Knock softly, crazy people living there." After this audacious Woden ran back into the woods whence we came, and we did not care to wonder if our signs would be removed. The enchantment placed on them would be restored into the original position once a day at the same time they were placed. And this was designed to remove the chances of tampering, and since the morning was already here, Woden set about making breakfast, and by the time we returned, the corpse of the former owner of the house had finally been consumed. We added some dirt over the top, and with a rake I started to prepare the land for farming while Woden fetched some eggs from the resident hens. Like chickens. To complete breakfast, Woden brought out from her stock some bacon and pancakes, and for herself she made waffles with locally picked berries, and for dressing our sweets, Ethel found for us some fresh honey. For this Ethel was served her favorite, a grilled cheese sandwich, and for drinks I had orange juice, and Ethel coffee with milk and sugar, and Woden had a dainty mint milkshake. And whenever Woden traveled, she always took with her an ample supply of food. Whenever she could help it, she would avoid the local foods. While we were thus engaged in our meals, a cliché of a magic user appeared at our door, and he found us for eating while sitting on a round table we had brought outside, and overhung the only clean piece of fabric still left in that dingy house. And he removed his hood and took a cautious step toward us, and after sipping her milkshake a bit, Woden asked, "How may I help you?" "I came to visit the hag who lives in this forest," said the mage. Ethel then told the fellow, "There are at least 5 others within walking distance from here, and you are going to have to be more specific. So yeah, they are not the only hags in the forest." "I am looking for Agnes," said the mage. "Agnes is over there," said Woden, pointing to the recently sold piece of land. "And pray do tell me what is she doing over there?" asked the mage, not changing his tone of voice, and it was silly to see mages trying to sound all cool and composed. "What are you, stupid?" remarked Ethel. "She is there because she is dead and upset." "Oh, I thought you meant that she was on the ground practicing her art," said the mage, shifting a bit within his robes. Turning to look at Woden, he asked, "And what are you doing here?" "I am eating breakfast. Is today's thing going to be pointless interrogations? And tell me what you want or be on your way," said Woden, exasperated. She was no longer munching on her strawberries with the interrogation putting her off her meal, and gesturing to her half-eaten plate, she said, "If you are hungry, you can have my leftovers. I had lost my appetite thanks to you." And she placed the plate facing the one empty seat. The mage hesitated a little, but then he sat down and ate the rest of the food, at first with a look of disgust, and then with an air of reluctant gusto. And Woden still continued to rudely sip her milkshake while she observed the man eat. And when he completed his meal, he said, "My name is Suberus, and I am looking for powerful magic users to form an army." "An army of magic users? Surely you have been reading way too many picture books," said Woden, laughing. "An army of magic users, you dumb shit." And then suddenly turning serious, she said, "An army needs more than one-trick ponies, and if you have one of the same unit, you are doomed to failure." Well, we will supplement with our demonic allies," said Suberus, gesturing at me and Ethel. I said, shaking my head, "I'm not going to fight and get hurt for a cause that I don't believe in." Ethel then said, "I haven't fought in a war in millenniums, and I'm not itching to pick up the practice again. I see no benefit in engaging a conflict that has nothing to do with me. The priests are our mutual enemies. Would you not see them eradicated?" insisted the mage. "I despise organized religion as much as the next fellow, but going as far as systematically destroying a group of people is not something I can neither support nor allow," said Woden. "So you will be our enemy then," said Suberus, standing up. "Enemy is a strong word. If you happen to be in my territory and you happen to kill a priest, depending on the circumstances, there is a chance I may lay you flat where you stand," said Woden, bringing out from below the table a gun of all things. Looking at it, I asked, "Are you even allowed to use those?" "They have been in circulation for quite some time, but only the Doors bother to use them," said Woden, looking and petting her lovely revolver. I'm not familiar with the weapon Zubedo does. What is that? It is a mage killer, said Woden. With a fast enough draw, I can lay you flat before you even have a chance to gather your magic. It is a go-to weapon when dealing with magic users back in my home. Shut up. Yeah, you can be a powerful magic, but if you don't got like an anti-bully shield on all of the freaking time, then it's all it takes to like lay a mage down, because by the time you say, you take me for a novice, dear. There isn't a moment when I am not gathering my magic, as you like to call it, said Zubedo, puffing. Good for you, said Woden, putting her gun away. And the maid stood up to walk away, and just then the revolver appeared in Woden's hand, and she shot right through the magic barrier, putting a hole right through his hood. And the maid trembled a little at a loss for words, and smiling Woden said, "Don't be such a baby, and go on your way." And without saying anything else, the mage disappeared, and with his departure, Woden finished drinking her milkshake, and most of the ice cream had melted, and when she concluded, she sighed and said, "What a bother. It is to be expected for weaklings to try to bully you into serving them," I commented. "How can you tell that he was weak?" asked Ethel with curiosity. "What a lack in magic senses I make up for in the common type, and the fact that his shield could not stop a bullet at least tells me that defensive-wise, I can easily take him," I said, gleefully flapping my icicle wings. "He could be stronger than you offensively," retorted Ethel. "That would only be a problem in a fair fight, and in an unfair fight, we demons will always have an advantage in the waiting game. He will eventually have to eat, sleep, or take a shit," I said, laughing at my little use of profanity. "Very interesting," said Ethel, taking things to heart. And she made a mental note of each to remember when humans typically have no other choice but let down their guard. With our meal concluded, I emptied out the table and cleaned the dishes, and after removing the bed and the hut seemed a bit empty, Woden went towards the forest and found a couple of fallen branches, and together with Hector, I also gathered whatever fallen piece of lumber we could find, and with a healthy stack we returned home, and Woden removed the bark in a long line to form cords. And after we set about weaving what Woden had in mind, and in about an hour Woden had weaved a very elegant front door, and Ethel and I made 2 round windows, and we created enough separation for the wind to get inside, but not enough for the creepy crawlies Woden despised so much. And we concluded the installation of our craft project around noon, and we stood back to look upon our work and saw that it was good. And Woden made a motion to enter the kitchen, but we heard the sound of people approaching, and sure enough, here were the witches that Ethel had alluded to earlier, and based on their age, it seemed like our Agnes was the senior of the group. And when they saw Woden, the youngest one among them asked, "What happened to Agnes?" Exasperated, Woden got a plank and wrote something on it, and she then placed it over the place where Agnes was buried. The plank read, "Rip Agnes." Another had asked, "What does rip mean?" "It means rest in peace," said Woden dryly. "Oh," said the girl who had first spoken. Let me see. 15 minutes. "Oh," said the girl. And looking at all 3 of them, Woden asked, "Was Agnes part of a coven or something, or is this my lucky day?" "Oh, nothing of the sort, but as our senior, we used to stop by every once in a while to get some much-needed advancement relating to our crafts," explained the girl. And there was a pause in the conversation as they had silently looked to one another and spoke in whispers, and Woden in turn placed her feet on her hips and not remotely amused at being ignored. And since they were not paying attention to her, Woden went into her hut and started preparing lunch, and Ethel followed along with having enjoyed her breakfast. And while she was Woden cooked, she made comments on the meat, and from time to time Woden would send her to fetch a vegetable from the herb garden. And with my girls busying themselves, I was left alone to contend with the intruders, and I sent to them when they took a step towards forward in order to expect Woden's above. "Who said you could come hither?" And one of the girls said, "We went inside to cook, so I assumed..." Well, she went inside to cook, so I assumed that she wanted to make supper for all of us to dine. Only a fool assumes that everything happens for their benefit. The sun doesn't rise and fall for your sake. It's also for the benefit of all magic users in this world, or haven't you been told?" I said, sitting down. And I unfolded the napkin and held the fork and knife to illustrate to Woden my hunger and impatience. The girl sat before me and said, "You are a bit of a brat of a demon, aren't you?" "I prefer the term old bugger. Maturity only lasts with you for so long, and given us time, we all degenerate into selfish little children, I explained. And this was a pattern I had observed in many different creatures, not just humans. The hags sat around me, and it seemed like another interrogation was about to occur, and indeed this seemed like the general theme of the day. And the girl opened her mouth to speak, but I shut her mouth with my hand, and she flinched at my frigid touch, and then I said, "The lady of the house is the termagant Woden. If you are not here for herbs or remedies, please be on your way. And we are busy with the restoration of this hut, and as for Ethel and me, the great ice demon Bayl, we are but humble servants, and we are no longer interested in the luxurious business of collecting souls or victims for that matter. We neither serve nor wish to be served by anyone for that matter." "How strange," said the witch. "What is it?" asked Bayl. I asked. And the witch said nothing, and the woman left our table and started walking out, and one stopped and said, "Tonight we are having a little get-together at my place over yonder creek, and you are welcome to stop by if you have nothing particularly to get to." "I will run by the lady of the hut," I said without much commitment into it. And there was really no need to tell Woden anything that had transpired, and it was common for her kind to pay close attention to any and all happenings, no matter how insignificant. And as soon as the woman left, Woden came out with our lunch, and for me she made some grilled vegetables with baked sweet potatoes. For Ethel she made zucchini and potato, and it was so nicely made that I threw a spoonful into Ethel too much of Ethel's annoying, and as for Woden, she ate some potatoes with cheese and bacon, and for the drinks we all had some mint lime iced tea. When Brother brought the iced tea, Ethel asked, "And where do you get the ice from?" I had a couple started while you were cutting the vegetable, and after sealing up the basement just right, there is a spot that can function as a natural refrigerator. It only took a pint of magic to lower the temperature, and from now on it will maintain it so long as the basement is not open very often," explained Ethel. "Ah, I see," said Ethel. "And are we going to that silly party?" I asked Woden. "I don't know. There isn't anyone I know, and it could be a trap or a cult initiation or something," said Woden, taking a sip or a drink. "Oh, come on. So you want to spend another day doing nothing but chores, and I haven't been to a witch's Sabbath in over a billion of years. And this is not the same as the other places, and maybe they're going to do something original, and not too cliché," I said, piquing Woden's curiosity. As long as it doesn't devolve into cannibalism or other sort of business," said Woden, sipping her drink. "If anything upsets you, you can always set it right, seeing as though you are the hero of this story," said Ethel, laughing. "Hero? You give me far too much credit," said Woden, laughing. "Yes, you are the hero. There's no point denying it. You are such a perfect little princess that you are nice even to demons such as I," insisted Ethel before munching on her potatoes. It's two solid meals all it takes to earn your affections, dear Ethel," asked Woden. "Seems like it," I ascertained. And our conversation was interrupted by the sound of two people approaching, and when they came before the house, Woden saw that it was Bryce and Jotun, and he was carrying a picnic basket in one hand while he held on to Jotun's wrist with the other, and putting his parcel down, he said, "Hello, Woden, long time no see." "It's barely been a day," said Woden dryly. "I guess, look, I thought you may want your sister or daughter back," explained Bryce. "It isn't for you to return other people's kids. If your mom finds out, she's going to give you a whipping," I said, smiling. "No, she wouldn't. She has never raised her hand at me, not even once," said Bryce happily. "Only because you were a tool up until recently," I interjected. "Tool," asked Bryce. "Puppet or whatever," explained Woden. "Ah," said Bryce proudly, and gesturing to the 26 Woden said, "You are welcome to eat lunch with us if it pleases you." And not desiring more invitation, Bryce sat down at our table, and Jotun was busy looking at stuff in the garden, and she was about to eat a tomato when Bryce said, "Don't eat that, it's poisonous." It's fine," said Woden. Bryce looked at Jotun for a bit while she made a mess of her tomato lunch, and she then proceeded to eat some fallen cherries before attacking the red currant bush, and shaking his head sadly, Bryce whistled twice before saying, "Come here, Jotun, come here, I have some real food for you." And obedient like the dog, Jotun came and sat down to eat the dried meat and cheese Bryce had brought with him, and this time it was Woden who asked, "What is really the reason why you're here?" Mother has been pretty on edge today, and so I decided to avoid her for the time being, and she was pretty mean to Jotun too, so I decided to take her with me. explained Bryce, and he added, Turpin told me about you, so Woden is not related to you. The short answer is no, said Woden, changing her mind about what she was going to say. And it seemed like she always detained herself whenever she was about to suddenly burst, when she was about to have a sudden burst of honesty. She did not lie as much, but she never gave you the whole truth, and changing the subject, she said, A couple of witches visited me today, and they wanted me to go to this light party. Wanna come? Is it safe? Asked Bryce. Who knows? What do people usually say happens at a witch's party? Asked Woden, getting up. Bryce thought a while while Woden took the dishes to the sink, and she returned with a dessert that was just about done, and she had made an extra for Bryce and Woden, and the dessert was called agua panela. And it was a teacup filled with melted sugar cane served with thick slices of cheese. Bryce looked at the sugary tree with suspicion, and Woden drank at a bit and nibbled at the sheet before leaving it, and she left to recline against a pumpkin to sleep off her meal. And being a toddler, she took her naps erratically, and overall she slept 17 hours a day, mostly during the morning hours. When Woden sat down, Bryce already had an answer for her. I read in the bestiaries that witches, on certain nights when the Titan moon is away, they come out and dance and sing with their demons, and they tend to perform lewd acts, and they eat children and women too. Same here too, I said, shaking my head somewhat deflated. Have people actually seen them, or is it just a bunch of rumors and nothing else? It is from a credible source, said Bryce. What a bother, I said, dipping my cheese into a sugary drink. And the conversation was interrupted by another visitor, and the fellow was a strange shadow, except it was solid. And he handed Woden a wooden box before departing, and opening the box, Woden said, Seems like it's ready. What is? Asked Ethel, looking at the box with curiosity. Inside the box was a fly swatter, and the handle was made of wood, and it had a strange pattern that reminded me of an umbilical cord, with its white and bluish black veins, and the top of the ponytail was beautiful, large, and curly, made of white hair. And this time it was Joseph who asked, And Woden handed the fly swatter to Joseph, who flung it around a bit and petting the hair a little before throwing it on the floor, as most toddlers usually do when they're bored of something. And on its own, the fly swatter rose from the ground and gingerly lay back on top of the table, and picking it up, Woden took out a comb from her pocket and started untangling the hairs of the fly swatter. When she was done, Bryce asked, Well, what is the deal with the magical feather duster? It isn't a feather duster, it is a super powerful ancient magic user, explained Woden. So why does it look like that? Asked Ethel. It's a long story, so I'm going to give you the short version. Far too long ago, the date is by now irrelevant, a lady was about to give birth, but the kid was delayed for 2 more months, and in the meantime, the kid started doing from the womb all sorts of magical feats, like doing the chores for the mother and stuff by making the objects hover. Eventually, she did give birth to a very smart brat, and he was born with his magical artifact. The original owner of the artifact dies, and desiring to be apart from his brother. The fly swatter decided to burn alongside his sibling in the funeral pyre. Before he could jump inside, his mother summoned it away from danger, and it took a couple of centuries of coaxing, but now the fly swatter will work alongside me. For peacekeeping or whatever, as long as I do not kill anyone with these powers, explained Woden. The fly swatter stood up and made an odd motion, and Woden paid attention to his gesticulations, and then he said, It prefers to be called glabrata, and my mother gave it this name in a sense of personhood as well. And all throughout this proceeding, Bryce acquired the amused look on his face, and he looked up as if remembering something. And then getting up, he said, I should get going. By the way, are you going to the witch party? Maybe, I don't know. Do you want to come with me? Asked Woden. I don't know, maybe. I should ask for permission first, said Bryce. Good luck with that, I said flatly. How so? I see, said Bryce, passing his hand over his hair, and he was just remembering where he decided to go. And I will wait for you there after sunset, and if you do not arrive after an hour, I will go on my way, and I will come armed just in case, said Woden, expecting for something to go awry. We saw Bryce leave the forest, and Jota hesitated a little, but she followed after Bryce. And when she got up to him, she took his hand, and this made me smile a little, and smiles shouldn't always look so tasty. And in response to such a mean thought, one smacked me in the head with her new toy, and the razors of glabrata created a spark which gave me a painful taste. And I was starting to like the turn of our relationship was taking. Anyhow, I just finished drinking my sugary drink with the pieces of cheese, and there was still a couple of hours till sunset. And to pass the time, Woden and I started tilling the garden, and Glabader watched with keen interest its proceedings, and looking at the dirt, Woden said, "Now it is time to plant something new. How about we some beans and pepper, and we could always use strawberry juice, and also we need a rose bush to keep the bugs away from the fruits," I suggested. "Good idea, but since the town is nearby, we should try a cash crop or something," said Woden. "How about cucumbers, onions, and leeks?" They were sadly lacking in both manors we visited, I suggested. "Nah, for selling wise, let's just do beans and peanuts, and I have a couple of beans that I brought from the market that I have been meaning to plant," said Woden, putting both down on the ground. She then watered them and added fertilizer, and then she said, "Now we play the waiting game. Aside from the peanuts, we added bell peppers, carrots, onion, leeks, melons, squash, and cucumbers, and we then proceeded to tend to whatever was already planted, and Neto didn't help much in this time, and she was still stricken by that sweet lethargy humans sometimes get after eating a big meal. And she was reclining on the provisional hammock Woden had hung for her in the bedroom, and within my mind Woden tilled another piece of land, and this one was made specifically to harvest cotton, and now unknown to wait for comfort, Woden planted a forbidden crop, and crossing her hole were genetically altered, and after the watering the seed they were already germinating, and if they took the soil well, the cotton will be ready to be harvested in less than a week. And the week I am referring to is the week of this world, which is 15 days, and normally it would take about 4 months for the cotton flowers to bloom, and sunset was barely starting by the time we completed our self-imposed gardening chores. And reading my friend of mine, Woden said, "If you find it to be such a chore, you are welcome not to lend a hand, and I do this because I enjoy it." "I thought that the whole planting was a way of living, not a hobby," I commented, looking at the butterfly that had landed on top of one of the tutti frutti anise. And they added, "Boy, the days sure do take a while to end." "Time flows the slowest for those who are bored," said Woden. "Go take a nap or something. And I will wake you up when it's time for us to leave. I prefer not to do so. And I said, reaching to grasp the butterfly in my icy hand. Alright, so let's just leave it at this, but I hope you have fun with me reading Saturnastra. We'll continue soon. Bye bye and God bless.